Americans are filthy barbarians because they wear their disgusting shoes inside. Hey guys, what's up? It's Kelly again and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm going to be talking about Americans and this world view of us that we're just filthy people because we all wear our shoes inside the house. And if you're watching this and you're like, what, that's a thing? Yeah, I didn't know it was a thing either. I never knew about this stereotype. I of course knew the ones you hear all the time. Oh, Americans are so ignorant to everything going on in the world around them. Americans are crazy nationalists because they all hang up flags in their front yards. And Americans are dumb because they think the earth is flat. We don't think the earth is flat. I mean, some of us do. There are people who think that the earth is flat. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google flat earthers because it's actually fascinating. I first became aware of this stereotype when I posted my video showing my German apartment. And in that video, I make a point to say, hey, when Germans come inside their house, they take off their shoes. And I understand how someone watching that could think that I pointed that out to mean, hey, this is a huge difference between Germans and Americans. And I got flooded with comments from calmer things like, wow, Americans wear their shoes inside? That's gross. To Americans are filthy barbarians because they wear their disgusting shoes inside, and how could they possibly be a world power when their people are so nasty? Yeah, it was intense. I even learned a new term for Americans. Amis. I had never heard this term before, and based on the context of the comments in which Amis was written, I would say that it's not the nicest term for us. So I decided to just make a whole video addressing this whole Americans wearing their shoes inside their homes because my hands are actually a little sore from responding to all of the comments trying to explain it. Just as a quick reminder, hi, I'm Kelly. I'm an American. However, I do not speak on behalf of all Americans. So don't take what I say as like cold hard facts, but it's not exactly fake news either, right? Like I feel like I have a pretty good sense of American culture. I just want to share my experiences and my perceptions with you guys. So let's just get this out there so that we're all on the same even playing field, all right? Shoes are filthy. They're actually really disgusting, and there are several studies showing exactly that. Scientists have taken shoes and swabbed the bottoms of them and done their science crap to it and figured out how much bacteria is on the average shoe, and it is alarming. And we're not talking about shoes that are obviously dirty, caked in mud, or the shoes of someone who works in a garbage dump, or the shoes of a farmer who tends to his animals, or the shoes of a hotel maid. And I used to be a hotel maid, and let me tell you, hotels are actually really disgusting. No, these are average shoes. So you can read the research if you want. I'll link some articles below, and you can just know that this is basically representative of what's on your shoes. So if you're watching this and your defensive hackles are coming up and you're like, well, I don't make a habit of walking around in shit. I mean, like, does anybody make a habit of walking around in shit? Is there anybody putting on their shoes in the morning and walking outside and thinking, you know what, I'm gonna try to walk in every pile of dog poo that I see because that's normal? And if you think wiping your feet off on a doormat gets rid of all of those teeny tiny little bacteria molecules on the bottoms of your shoes, it doesn't. That would basically be like handling raw chicken, going over to your kitchen towel, wiping your hands off and being like, yeah, I'm good, I washed my hands. So you might think that you're not bringing all that nastiness into your home as long as you wiped your shoes off at the doormat and they look relatively clean, but you kind of are. Okay, so now that we're all on the same page, I will say it is just not a cultural norm in the US to take off your shoes when you come home. That doesn't mean that no American does this. There are a ton of Americans who will take off their shoes upon arriving home, whether it's right at the door, or maybe they'll walk to a hall closet and take their shoes off there, or maybe they'll even walk to their bedroom closet and take their shoes off to put them away there. But there are some Americans who don't take off their shoes. And then there are other Americans who maybe when they're getting ready to leave, they want to put on their shoes and check out how they look with their outfit. So they put them on wherever they're getting ready, typically the bedroom, and then they'll be wearing their shoes around inside before leaving. It's also oftentimes considered really rude to tell your guests to take off their shoes when they come into your home, because it kind of implies that you think they're dirty. And I know some of you are watching this thinking that's ridiculous. You're not saying they're dirty, you're saying their shoes are dirty because they've been walking around outside. Yes, that makes perfect sense, but the implication is still kind of there. Or maybe the guest doesn't want to take off their shoes because they have a really nasty ingrown toenail they don't want anyone to see. Or maybe they're just uncomfortable walking around barefoot in someone else's home because they don't know how clean it is, or it's just kind of a really intimate thing that some people aren't comfortable with. So what I normally see is whenever I have friends over, for example, they will oftentimes ask, hey, should I take off my shoes? And then I will normally respond with whatever makes you more comfortable. Sometimes that means taking off your shoes, and sometimes it doesn't. And I don't really care, because as the host, I take on the burden of having to do some extra cleaning because I had people over. I am also now aware of this notion that Americans are wearing their shoes on their beds or their couches or other pieces of furniture. Why do people think this? Because they see it on movies or TV shows. Look guys, here's the crappy thing about Hollywood. It's a cultural export that shapes and influences the way that non-Americans think about the US and Americans, no matter how true or false it is. Thousands and millions of TV shows and movies have been produced, and a huge chunk of them feature American characters. Americans will watch these shows and so on and think, hey, that's not what my life is like, or I don't live that way, and know that it isn't representative of every American. Whereas some non-Americans, especially those who've never traveled to the US before, or maybe they don't have any American friends, might watch that same show and think, wow, that's what Americans are like? And then that's their perception of Americans. Because why would they think anything else? So you'll have a TV show with like an American character outside doing whatever, and then he comes inside to his home and does whatever. One continuous scene, and it doesn't stop to show him taking off his shoes when he enters his home. Why? Well, I'm not a director. I think that's pretty apparent given the quality of these videos, but I'm willing to bet that a director doesn't want to spend 30 seconds of very valuable screen time showing a character taking off his shoes and then having to show that character putting his shoes back on when he leaves and so on. Like, let's just picture it. Sheldon Cooper, for example, he's a character on The Big Bang Theory. What if they were to show him from outside, and then he comes into the apartment building, walks up all those stairs that they show every episode. He comes into his apartment and he stops everything to take off his shoes. It would look ridiculous, right? And he's actually the character in TV that I could most see doing this, because his whole persona is based on him being super anal retentive. So when you see a character in a movie and he's wearing his shoes on his bed, try to imagine, why would the director want to keep the shoes on the character instead of having him barefoot or in socks? There's probably a reason for it, if anything, just because of aesthetics. If you're watching this and you're finding yourself getting really angry and emotional about the idea of an American walking around their house with shoes on, just try to remember that maybe that person doesn't know any better, or maybe they just don't think about it. I mean, I highly doubt anybody's walking into their home with shoes on and consciously thinking, hey, I'm gonna bring in all the bird residue that I stepped in on the sidewalks out there and into my home. And in the scheme of things, it probably feels really insignificant to some people. Like, I guarantee you there is an American watching this right now thinking, who the hell cares? Why does she keep talking about this? And they're about to turn my video off. Please do not turn my video off. As for me, I wasn't raised to take off my shoes, so I just never thought about it. I never came across an article or research talking about how filthy shoes are. I never talked to my friends about it. Does that make me a filthy, barbaric human being? I don't think so. I think it just makes me ignorant to that information, and that's okay. I think it's really dangerous when we start faulting people for their upbringing or their cultural background, because it's impossible for everyone to have seen everything, experienced everything, and know everything. Instead of approaching a cultural difference with such anger and hate and aggression, just look at it as an opportunity to share your knowledge, your information that you've gained from what you've been exposed to throughout your life with someone who maybe wasn't privileged to have that same exposure. And have some humility, guys. Like, we're all just pretending to know what the heck we're doing as we're walking around this world. All right, guys, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Maybe you learned something, or maybe you just think about things a little differently, having heard my perspective or my experiences. And don't take me too seriously at the end there. I didn't mean to get so preachy if that's how you're interpreting it. I am by no means a perfect person. I'm still learning a lot. And actually, a lot of what I'm learning is from you guys right now and all of your comments. Your comments are what spurred this entire video. I felt like I really needed to address this issue. Okay, like I really wanted that pun to work, but I think it's pretty apparent that it's not working. So I wanted to address this issue with you guys because of the types of comments I was getting on my apartment video. So keep the comments coming, guys. Ask me any questions, share your experiences, your perspectives. I'll see you guys next time. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, go ahead and click subscribe. I'll be posting videos every week, and I promise they won't all be of me just standing here talking to you. I do some vlogs too. All right, bye guys. I think I'm gonna go eat some food because like I legitimately have not eaten yet, and it is way later in the day than it is excusable for me to have not eaten. So yeah, food time. Bye. It's just a wall there. I can't. Bye. Oh God.